Live. Whoop, whoop.
Public. Okay.
Preparing it.
It's preparing it. Okay, so it's thinking about it. Great, good. Public, great. I can upload the thumbnail. This is all very good.
Okay.
Normally we do a nice little meditation before we start.
There we go. And I'm going to mute that one. There we go. Now, how do I see the comments, Kat?
So you'll want to go, you'll want to pull up from being inside the YouTube account. You'll want to go into the upper left-hand corner, where our icon is. You'll click on that. And
live chat.
What's that?
Hi guys. Hi Jillian.
Oh, you can see him already.
Thank you.
Hey,
thanks for going with us. Oh, Courtney, hi.
Oh, thanks for being here, everyone. This is excellent.
Thank you. It's working.
It's working. We know what we're doing. We didn't blow anything up.
Yeah.
All right, we are live, and I'm just going to post some links here real quick. So bear with us through our little awkward moments here.
Well, while you post, I will continue welcoming people.
Okay, great.
I'm so excited too. Kevin, I'm so excited to meet you. This is going to be my first time of actually meeting you. So I'm completely naive in all of this. And I'm very excited about it.
Okay.
All kinds of stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah.
I've got a map because I think you are like Linda and myself, where we can go onto an ADD binge and go anywhere from any angle. So yeah. I've made us a little map.
Awesome.
All right. So I'm just going to post that. Wow, that is so strange to see myself live. Okay. So, all right. First, of course, we're going to introduce and welcome our lovely friend, psychic and conscious business coach, Linda Coulter-Burge.
Hey, everybody. I am so excited. This is our first live. Woo, woo. So.
Yeah, raise the roof.
And my first time of seeing Kevin and learning all about who he is and his relationship with the P'nti. So I am so excited. And I get to hear from people in the audience for the first time live and answer questions. Well, I won't answer anything, but I'll be asking for you.
She will be your spokesperson to get the questions in, and we'll do the best we can.
When you see this little guy saying hi, that is that I am posting questions for you.
That's our indication to stop and listen. And then, of course, we have Kevin Estrella, and I'm saying it right, Estrella?
It's good anyway.
What's the right way? Because I was like, it's Spanish, it's double L. It's star. I mean, star.
Good. Estrella is good. Estrella is good.
Estrella. See, it's Spanish. It means star, right?
It does. Yeah, it actually does.
So this is our new friend, Kevin, and that is actually Druti, one of the P'nti behind him. And we're going to be, and on his chest, he's just covered. Nice. So I'm going to hop in. I'm going to read Kevin's bio so then we can just jump in and get into the questions. But we want to thank you so much for being on our first live show. Kevin is just willing to play with us as we as we are awkward and silly and make it all work. So thank you, Kevin.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you, Kevin.
Excellent. All right. Kevin Estrella has been welcomed deep into the UFO community after having his own first-hand encounter with something not of this world. Kevin is the guitarist and composer of the instrumental rock band Pyramids on Mars, a combination of hard rock, industrial, and metal infused with lead guitar melodies inspired by violin melodies of Baroque classical composers J.S. Bach and Antonio Vivaldi. Kevin has always had a passion for UFOs and extraterrestrials. He has spent over 20 years researching to understand why they are here. Kevin combines his passion of music with raising consciousness and awareness of the UFO and extraterrestrial presence. He feels this has always been his purpose in life. This calling was affirmed on August 21st, 2014, when he had contact with an interdimensional craft of unearthly origin. Since then, Kevin began experiencing many other related incidences like incredible synchronicities, music downloads, symbol downloads through dreams, which is also featured on the design of his guitar, and increased telepathy. We're definitely going to talk about telepathy. His musical downloads are discussed in UFO researcher Grant Cameron's book, Tuned In, The Paranormal World of Music. Many of Kevin's personal CE5 encounters are discussed in the book Inviting ET by Sue Walker. Kevin has become very involved with the P'nti Star Nations, who go by Sandia Wisdom on Twitter. And Kevin works closely with the P'nti, who reside in a complex under the Sandia Mountains of Albuquerque, New Mexico. The P'nti have given Kevin several upgrades and downloads and has experienced visits from them on a weekly basis. Kevin has been a featured guest on over 55 UFO radio talk shows, and we are excited to up that number by having him with us here today on Third Eye Salon. There we go. Thank you, Kevin.
That sounds great.
Yeah, don't you sound great on paper? You sound so good. So let's hop into it. I wanted to kind of start at why not start at the beginning? Because sure. I know you and I had chatted before a couple of weeks back, and UFOs and extraterrestrials was something you were always interested in, but it was something you were also questioning. You were kind of like borderline. You wanted to believe, but you weren't sure, but part of you really, knew that it was true. What was the experience that made you go, oh my gosh, this is real?
Yeah, it was, I had studied UFOs since I was in university. And that's when I really started to gain an interest in extraterrestrials. And I would spend probably about 15 or 20 years studying. But okay, so it was about 1991, 92 when I started university, and a guy downstairs was he was one of the first guys to ever get internet, because nobody had internet until the year 2000. 1992, this guy has internet, and he's downloading these schematics from Bob Lazar of these UFO diagrams, and I was just kind of like blown away by it. And
Bob Lazar?
Yeah, Bob Lazar. So that's where I first really started getting interested in UFOs, like taking it really seriously. And then I started to, it was Bud Hopkins' books that I started to buy and read, about UFO alien abductions, and was taking it more and more seriously. And the older I got, when the internet finally came out, I was watching a lot of Richard Hoagland videos on the anomalies on Mars and the moon and in our universe and solar system, and just kind of was educating myself. I think the moment when I realized that this is real, when you say like what really freaked you out, it was because I was, there's a period of time where I was still kind of skeptical. And I remember reading about alien bases on the moon, and I'm like, oh, here goes the conspiracy theorists again. Okay, let's see what this is all about. Alien bases on the moon, how ridiculous. So I start pulling up all these images on YouTube of these pictures of blurred out things. And then all of a sudden, I was having flashbacks to my childhood, to the 1970s. And I've seen these pictures before. And I'm going, I've seen this before, but I've seen a lot more than this. And then it went back to when I was like 4 or 5 years old, my doctor's office in Orangeville, Ontario. He had this big, huge book. It was like, yay tall of the moon, the astronauts on the moon. This is going back to 1974, 75. And it was a big picture book, and all the pictures on the, the front cover, and half of like 1/3 of the book was high definition quality, for the 70s, of pictures of the astronauts on the moon. But then when you start getting into the other pictures that are showing different craters and other, pictures of the moon from far off and stuff, it was like there was airbrushed stuff out. Pages after pages after pages of purposely airbrushed out things. And I'm thinking, like, I'm a kid. I'm thinking, they're hiding something. I'm not stupid. Why is it all blurry? This is obviously covered up. And so I would actually turn the page over, hold it up to the light to see if I could see what was hiding behind the, the blurred out images. Or I thought, well, maybe it's a scratch and sniff book. Maybe if I scratch it, this thing will disappear. But it never did. And it was like, like 3/4 of the book was pictures of the moon, and nearly all of it was nothing but airbrushed stuff out. And I realized, oh my God, it's true. There's alien bases on the moon. So that was the first kind of real reality check for me. But it was when it became real, that was August 2014, August 21st, 2014, when that craft flew across my backyard. So I had always, all my life, wanted to have a UFO experience and was excited to, if I'd actually get to see a craft. But nothing prepared me for what I actually was about to see. So it was August 2014. It was exactly 10:30 at night. I had just got my kids to bed, and I went out onto my deck. Now, I live in Hamilton, which is a large city in, in Ontario, and there's a population of 500,000, and our house is just off of Upper James, which is one of the busiest streets on the mountain. And I live in a big suburban, subdivision. And so immediately, within 7 seconds of me getting on my deck, this object starts coming out from behind the tree of my neighbor's house on the right-hand side. And at first, I honestly thought it was a meteor because it was orangish red, glowing, kind of like coals do, in a hot fire, and it had that kind of glowing look to it. And it wasn't all the same. It was kind of changing, but it was orangish red, and it had like this mist that was kind of coming off the top of it and out of the bottom of it. And it was a perfect, beautiful disc that came out from behind this tree, like it was waiting for me. Within 7 seconds, it was not in front of the tree. It was not behind the tree. It was exactly right behind the tree. And it was only 100 yards away. If I had a rock, I probably could have, if I threw it hard enough, I probably could have hit it. And it was maybe about 100 to 125 to 150 feet off the ground. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what the heck is that? What the F is that? And it moved across the distance of my backyard only. And as I said, it had like mist that was coming off the top of it and along the bottom of it. It would be almost 6 months later that I would finally realize that what I was looking at after watching videos of the sun, that it was plasma streams. It was plasma. It was covered in plasma.
Okay.
And then it moved off towards Bimbrook, kind of turned. It was going, away from me. But as it was moving away from me, that orangish reddish light glow that it had slowly faded away until the point where the object had no light source whatsoever. It was just a black disc. But to be clarified, it was actually oblong. So it wasn't a circle. It was more like oblong, like an egg almost, like a long egg. And it went away. But at the same time that it was doing that, it was forming this swirling white vortex in the front of it, almost like a portal. It was really strange looking. And the other thing with this was that the disc was actually two-dimensional. So what I mean by that was that it had height and it had depth, but it had height and width, but it had no depth. So it was like looking at like a solar eclipse, like a hole in the sky.
Okay.
And that's what this looked like. And it would look like a hole in the sky, but it was orangish red. It was crazy. The physics that the thing showed were unlike anything I'd seen before. And when it finally left, I realized that I think that I had saw a flying saucer. And so I filled out a report to MUFON, and it would be almost like 8 months later before I hear back from them. But to answer your question, when it became real, it was that moment. And my reaction to it was nothing of what I expected, because my paradigms of reality were shattered in regards to realizing, oh my God, this is real. This is the real thing. This thing was actually, it was waiting for me. And it was so close. It displayed physics that I had never seen before. And your mind is fighting with trying to figure out, how is it doing that?
Mm-hmm.
How is it doing? How is it two-dimensional? Why does it have mist? Why is it glowing like coals? Like it just didn't make any sense. Why did it have no sound? Why did it appear I showed up? And then I found out, 6 months later that I was the only one who had contact with the craft. Nobody else reported it. And that's a whole other story on its own. So that was a reality check for me.
Miss Linda, there's a question. I see
I
Manatee
do
has something
have
to
some
say.
questions. So Jillian has a question. She says, wow, incredible. When you saw the craft, did you experience any changes in your own personal environment? For example, sometimes when I have experiences, everything in my reality gets really quiet, etc.
Great question. Thank you, Jillian.
Yeah, thanks.
That's an excellent question. And now thinking about it, yeah, it was quiet. I couldn't hear anything. No, you're the first person to ask me that question. I remember that. It was like dead air. Holy shit. Sorry. I'm having a moment here. It was dead quiet. There was no sound at all. It was like time had stopped.
Yep.
Okay, I have to say, I've had an experience of one coming over the house. And until you asked that question, Jillian, I had not thought about that. Because when it happened with me, it was a different type of a craft. And it just came, like the beginning of Star Wars, where that ship is coming from the screen. That's what was happening over my house. And it was absolutely silent and slow and huge, and I could go into it, but this is your time. But everything was silent. It was, other than my dogs were whining and going in circles and going crazy, everything around was silent, like space, like everything was so still.
Yeah, quiet as space. Like, yeah. I think that, like, in Kevin's situation, how I understand that to be is that it's actually a pocket where you're kind of pulled out of regular time-space reality and you're in a different pocket. So you are experiencing a timeless spacelessness that does defy the normal experience. And I see you shaking your head, Kevin. What do you want to say about that?
That, when I was on Mr. and Mrs. Smith's show about a month ago, because Mr. Smith, he had the same experience in downtown New York City with two extraterrestrials that were disguised as a rich African-American billionaire and an American vet in a wheelchair. And they both turned him at the same time and said, we're waiting for you to get your act together, or something like that. And it was like, they walked across the street. There was no cars at all anywhere in downtown New York. That's impossible.
Right.
There was no cars. The minute that they went around the corner and they started to chase them, all of a sudden this huge amount of cars started coming. It was like a time bubble. And that would explain why when 6 months later, when I talked to MUFON and they told me about, my sighting, and I asked how many other people saw it, they said nobody else reported it. I didn't believe them. I was freaked out because it should have been like all over the news. I mean, it just doesn't, it was off of one of the busiest streets in Hamilton, over
Right.
a very subdivision, and people are walking their dogs. It wasn't that late at night, and nobody else saw it. Impossible.
Right. It really parallels a lot of other experiencers where they're like, this has happened in broad daylight. It was in the city. There's no way that this could have happened. But you enter a pocket dimension is what I call it. I don't know if that's the right term, but I think it's like a dimension that's kind of put around you that pulls you out of space and time, and you're in a parallel place where time and space just don't have those normal rules. And I wanted to ask you then, what was your first direct encounter that you remember in terms of, because I know like you and Sue Walker are buddies and we love Sue here dearly. And we're gonna have a big jamboree this Sunday. Kevin's gonna be back on with Sue. We're gonna have a party where it's gonna be, we'll talk more about that. Also like, share, and subscribe. I forget to say those things. So, but anyway, do the promo. But Kevin, what was your first encounter with an extraterrestrial? Because was that a P'nti or was that a different being?
That was a P'nti.
It was a P'nti. Let's hear about that.
Yeah. So going back a couple of years ago, Sue contacts me and she says, you're on the schedule for a visitation you'll know that you've been visited if something in your apartment is out of place. So
So
I'm
wait,
like,
let's
oh,
stop. How did you know Sue at that point?
oh, I've known Sue now for about 3 or 4 years. So
Okay.
I met her through you probably know him as Wookie, who does like we do our Close Encounters of the P'nti kind videos. It was Wookie who introduced me to at Sandia Wisdom on Twitter. So, and then it
Wookie's
was
a friend. He's a Wookie. Just so people know, Wookie is that's the name he goes by. He has a job, but he can't reveal his identity. Working with the police, but he's a contactee. He's an experiencer, and he goes by Wookie. Go on. Go on.
So yeah, so I end up making friends with. Originally, it was just Teeny, Drudy, Tilcum, and Radar, with the four of them. And I spent a lot of time, talking with Teeny and Drudy and Radar, and was built a friendship, and they wanted to get to know me a bit better, so we started having more private messages on Twitter.
Okay, so let's just clarify that you were talking to them through Twitter, like you were interacting with them through Sue through Twitter.
Yeah, through Twitter. But I didn't know at the time that it was actually Sue who was doing all the typing. So she was staying in the background and not introducing herself because the P'nti were not ready to introduce me to Sue yet.
Oh.
So they said, we'd like to set up an interview with you to talk with our telepathic translator. We're not doing that right now, and we just want to ask you a few quick questions. And so I was, it was Teeny, and she was asking me all kinds of stuff. And eventually, I got I set up a phone call with Sue, and we just hit it off, instantly, and grew close very quickly. And I really wanted to be a part of the P'nti. I follow them on Twitter every day, and I have for the last 3.5, 4 years. So they're a part of my life. They're very much part of my life, and I can't imagine my life without them. So yeah, I am very close with them. But it was my first ET contact was with the P'nti, and that was the when they did the clearing on me, the physical enhancement.
Did they now? When you say they did a clearing on you, this was after you had been chatting with them via Twitter. And did they do the clearing with you like while you were asleep? What was that experience? Were you like on the ship? Like, give us more details around that.
It was while I was asleep. It would have had to be on a ship what they did. So, as I said, Sue said you're on the schedule for a visitation. You'll know if you've been visited when something has been moved out of your apartment. And so I go to sleep one night, and I wake up in the middle of the night. My apartment is like, it's one room. It's about, it's got like 12-foot ceilings. It's very tall, and my bedroom is actually above my kitchen. So from my bedroom, it's a loft, and I can look down into my living room. So I'm looking down. I thought I heard something. It felt like a presence, but I didn't see anybody. I didn't see anything, so I just went back to sleep. And then a few hours later, I wake up to the feeling of warm liquid draining out of my left ear, and it startled me. And I just shook my head and went like that with my ear. I'm like, what the heck? Well, what's up with that? I never went swimming or anything like that for a long time. Why was water in my ear? And I wake up the next morning and go to work like normal, and come back home, and I'm walking over to my computer, and I've got this shelf on the right hand side, and as I'm walking by, I noticed that I have the statue of this little guitar player, and he's facing the wall. And I think, why is he facing the wall? It's like, was I drunk last night and he fell and I put him on the shelf? Wait, no, I wasn't drinking, and I would never put him on backwards. And all of a sudden I clicked in, oh my God, Sue said this and this, they must have came. And so I went on Twitter and I said, did you guys come last night? I noticed my statue was facing the wall. And then Drudy comes on Twitter and she says, yes, one of our trainees, he just mentioned to me that they thought he was quite peculiar. Their apologies if they did not put him back properly. So I'm just like, oh my God, they were here. So, and that was wild. And then it was Wookie. He contacted me a couple of days later, and he said Judy was here and she was waiting for me to go to sleep. And I'm like, oh yeah. He says, yes, she was waiting because they had to perform some kind of procedure on me, removing stuff. And I was like, really? And all of a sudden I clicked in and thought, liquid, ear, wait. And then I ran up to my bedroom, and I pulled back my covers, and lo and behold, right there on my pillow was a little brownish red stain right where my ear was. And I was just like, oh my God. And so I told him about it, and he said, oh yes, thank you for reminding me. They said that that would be the last part of the procedure of the liquid that they put in your head. The last part comes out of your left ear when it's all done. And I'm just like, oh my God, you too? And he said, yeah. And
Okay.
so what happened?
Yeah, what's the procedure? What is this procedure about? What were the? All right, sorry. I was just like, don't miss that bit. It's a juicy bit. I want to hear it.
What's juicy? It's massively juicy.
It's dripping out of your ear. It's so juicy.
What it did completely changed my life.
Okay.
Completely changed my life. And it's only gotten better. So for the next 7 days, I felt my ears were very sensitive, and my head was feeling different. And I also happened to notice that, when I went to go pee, my urine was just putrid. It smelled like pneumonia. It smelled like heavy metals. It just smelled really awful, like my body was exfoliating stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on here? And then it was after 7 days. And at that 7th day, all of a sudden, my consciousness expanded, and I was able to access different areas of my brain that I'd never been able to access before. I never realized how much poison in our foods, in our water, everything that they do to dumb us down, to make us less connected to the collective, to the telepathy, to the consciousness. I'd never felt like this ever before in my life. I could focus on an area of my mind, and it would light up. It felt like it was light. I could do that, and it was very powerful. And they repeated the process again about a month later, because I had another stain on my other pillow, and I still have the samples. I cut them out of my pillowcase. I still got those samples. But it was after the second time when I did the clearing that all of a sudden my head was really clear, and I had a constant telepathic connection. Like my mind was completely like a light bulb, very open, very conscious, very expanded.
Okay,
and
let's bookmark that there, because I want to hear about the telepathic connection. I saw Miss Manatee show up, and let's hear what the question is from the audience.
Yes, we've had a whole conversation going on over here.
Oh.
So yeah, it's still staying on UCAT, so they may not see my manatee, but I'm going to read this. And so we've had a little conversation going on, and so I've got to back up a little bit. I asked how many people were on Twitter that were watching it, and I had a little conversation after that. Julian says, I have had experiences come directly through social media a few years back. I believe in 100%. Wendy says, that's where I first met Drudy. They know me. Ask them if they remember Wendy Bird. I'm not on Twitter nowadays, though, and not for some years.
Well, you can get to the Sandia website or the Sandia group on Facebook. So just type in Sandia on Facebook, and she can connect with them there.
Wendy, you can get on Facebook with that group. Kevin, did you have something to say? And then I have another one.
Yeah, Wendy sounds familiar. I recognize Wendy. There was a Wendy. Yeah.
And radar to Kevin, he's seen you. That's from Wendy. And Julian says, that's their way. This is talking about the ear. That's it, and the item. That's their way of validating. What a special experience. Wendy says, Kevin, Did your taste disappear?
No,
No?
no.
Okay. And
Yeah,
Jillian
like
said, sounds
expanded.
like they provided you with a massive clearing.
Yeah, 100%. It sounds like you had a huge detox on
Massive.
multiple levels.
Yeah.
So you were
Yeah.
saying you became more telepathic after that. Tell us about how that happened, what your experience, what was your first experience of, oh my God, I'm telepathic. This is happening.
Well, it's more like uh, my receiving of telepathic messages is still really, I'm working on it. Okay. It's getting better. I've had so much better this year than any other year I've had,
Okay.
but it's been a long process where I can't hear the P'nti. I really can't. I'm not as good as, as Wookiee or Sue. I'm not like that at all, So it's frustrating that my telepathy receiving is not as good as it is giving. What they did to me was kind of like they turned my head into like a huge antenna, like the ones you see that go to space. They're picking up signals or broadcasting. They made my broadcasting massive, like where they can really hear me very clearly. It's like they turned up the volume with me, with my projection, and most likely it's because of my music, my communication of my music. Because 2.5 years ago, so, conversation with Teeny was Kevin, a private conversation. She said, Kevin, do you realize that music can be communicated at a telepathic level? And I had no idea. And I said, can you teach me this? And she kind of indicated that, I was already doing it, but I just had to have more confidence in myself and basically know thyself and know what you're doing. And when you don't know what you're doing, or you're conscious of it, but now you're doing it, but when you're really conscious of it, you can do it much better because you're focusing on it. And so
Yeah.
for years, working with me, and I would get critiques back, and they can hear, when I'm projecting at my most emotional levels, they can hear me back there in Sandia. So that's pretty cool. I got real affirmation of that when I was working on my last album, Edge of the Black, and the song Nach Waffen I was working on. I needed a melody for that song.
What was the song called again?
Nach Waffen.
Nach Waffen, of course, it rolls right off the tongue. Okay.
Yeah, it's actually I wrote it in dedication to Penny Bradley.
Okay.
So yeah. So anyway, getting a little bit off topic here. I'll have to back up a bit with the other part of it. Anyway, the long and short of it was that after I wrote that melody, there was something very special about that melody. And after 20 minutes later, I get a private message from Sue saying, Kevin, Judy and they heard you play telepathically through the soup, and you had accessed the whale download that they had given you 8 months prior. With the ripple effect, the time, the length of notes, everything that you were doing, you accessed the tonal language of the whales download that they had given me 8 months prior that I had asked for.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Let's talk about that. The thing that I wanted to also say is my sense of it is that you are a natural amplifier. It's not so much that they boosted you, but they removed all the gunks. Your natural ability to amplify came online. That's my sense of it, because that's my intuition about it. But yeah, since you've opened up the whale conversation, which is one of my favorite conversations, parts of our conversation we had when we were talking one-on-one, let's get into that. Let's talk about Thera and the whales. And so introduce us to who Thera is and how she came into your life, Thera being one of the P'nti.
Sure, yeah. Thera is very special to me.
Yeah.
Came to Earth about maybe 2 years ago, maybe a bit longer. And she, her specialty, she's an expert in the tonal language of the cetaceans. So the whales and the dolphins, that is her specialty. And what I come to understand through the P'nti is that the whales have a very complex telepathic tonal language that they speak. So they tell stories in images, and their language is very complex. There are tonal languages. It's not just isolated to the whales, though. It's tonal languages are languages, just as we speak. There are other animals that communicate in tonal languages,
Yeah.
which I had no idea. And then when you get down into the deep, dark oceans where there's no light, there are many of those fish down there that are able to produce their own light, and they actually communicate in light language. So they have
Wow.
language too, which I was learning. Particularly, I think there's one that's called I think it's called the vampire octopus. But this octopus has lights all over its tentacles, and it can do crazy things. It's amazing. These vampire, I think it's called vampire.
They're probably just goth. They just think they're like, we're vampires. But
they put black makeup on at night.
Black makeup with the glow sticks. They're having a rave. It's fine. We like it. So how did you get introduced to Thera, though? Like, what was the introduction to Thera? Was it because, Kevin's a musician, he's already tapping into this, or was she the one who gave you the downloads? Like, what was that relationship?
So I learned about what her specialty was, and I asked her one day, "Can you teach me this tonal language?" I wanted to learn it.
And you were asking this to who?
I asked Thera. I asked her straight on
Thera.
Twitter.
How did you meet Thera? Who introduced you?
She just popped up on Twitter one day.
Oh, okay.
That's how Twitter works. I mean, there's so many P'nti, different ones who'll be monitoring the desk, and they'll come on in the morning and they'll say hello, and so, the different P'nti will be on in the mornings, and they will, talk to people and introduce themselves. And one day it was Thera. She was watching the desk, and there's a beautiful portrait of her. Let's see if I can. Can you see that?
Yeah. Oh, I love her. She's so wise.
Yeah. So that's Thera. And so I asked her about getting, if she could teach me the tonal language, and she actually said yes. And I was just like, holy jumping! This is quite amazing. And so then it was back in April, about 2 years ago. I woke up one morning, and I've gotten downloads from the P'nti. I've gotten many downloads where they will have picked me up one night and put information into me. And I always have the same symptoms. Basically, by about 11 in the morning, I'm starting to feel kind of tired. By 12-ish, my brain feels like heavy, soggy cotton. And then by 1:30, 2 o'clock, I can't even stay awake. I will literally fall asleep at my desk, and I cannot control it. My head will be so heavy and feel like soggy cotton. And also sometimes I would notice that because I injured my ankle many years ago, sometimes my ankle would be sore. And that only happens if I've been doing a lot of long walking. So sometimes I wonder if they picked me up and I was taken back to the mountain, because I know there's lots of long hallways, and I had been doing a lot of walking that night. But I'm digressing. So so that this download, I go back home, and as Sue said, if you get a download, go and sleep. You got to sleep. And so it's kind of like, I don't even call it sleep. It's more like a complete reboot. Your brain reboots. When you close your eyes, your brain is just flatlines, and then is slowly building up. And before you know it, a couple hours have gone, and you wake up, and it's like it's 6:30 in the afternoon. After work, I'm like, I just slept 9 hours, and it's only an hour and a half that's gone by. That's heavy.
Wow.
The tonal language, I was 3 days of recovery. It was that heavy. It was massive. And after the third day, I contacted Sue.
Third day you contacted Sue. Okay, bookmark it there, because Mr. Manatee showed up. And so, Miss Linda, what were we hearing?
I actually have a question. So
Miss Linda has a question.
I have a question. So Kevin, if I understand, because I was kind of watching both, you were out and about when your download happened. This was during the day, or was this in the evening?
Well, the download would happen, while I'm sleeping.
While you're sleeping, and then the next day you'd feel the jet lag from it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just trying to equate that with some of the things that happen with me, that like that what you describe happens to me, and I just counted it as low blood sugar. So I never know. But it's also, there are nights where I wake up afterwards and I'm exhausted, absolutely exhausted. And I said I used to hear little chatter, like people talking in the background, just this whispering all night long. And it's like, would you please be quiet? I'm trying to sleep. And the next day I'd have that type of reaction that you had.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Sound.
I
Yep.
love that you
Keep
call
an
it. Sorry, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, keep an eye for those things. Download symptoms are different for everybody, but some people will actually see codes coming down. They'll see codes. Yeah, actual physical codes coming down. I don't have that, but I know some people who have actually seen that. Jason, who's on Twitter all the time with Sandia, he's gotten that. My friend Marley Boone, she's seen codes when she's gotten downloads. But for this whale download, it was 3 days of recovery, and I had to contact Sue and ask her what the heck is going on, what happened here. And then immediately it was Teeny who came online. It wasn't Sue. And Teeny said, well, you asked for the tonal language download. We gave you the beginner's course. And I'm just like, the beginner's course. I said, it feels like radar stuffed a whale brain in my head. I was getting this image of radar, having a whale brain sitting with my head open and him jumping up and down, stuffing a whale brain. That's what it felt like.
So did your music change after that, Kevin? Did you notice it influencing your music drastically?
No, because it took I'm still working with this whale download, because I have to really I've only touched the surface. Okay, I really just scratched the surface. They gave me instructions in regards to how to unzip this download. Okay, so Thera and Teeny basically told me they want me to go down to Lake Ontario, because I live in Hamilton. When it's close to sunset, bring my guitar down there, and as the elements of the fire and the water, so the water from the oceans and the fire of the sunset, as they're mixing, let your telepathy work with the music and pay attention to the chords and the notes and the length of the notes and the ripple effects, and you'll slowly start to you'll naturally start to unzip this download. So it would be almost 8 months later when something would happen, and then that was when I was writing that song Nach Waffen, and I was working on the melody for that song, and the part of the song, I just kept it looping and kept looping it and playing the melody until it synchronized with the universe, with what the universe is telling me, coming from the deepest of my being, with the edge of the black, and letting the music, you're communicating with the collective consciousness, and they're kind of co-writing with you. And this melody started coming, and it was haunting, and the notes were like long, and the bends were not full bends. They were like maybe 3/4 of a bend to the next note. They weren't, it was different. And that's when Thera and Teeny contacted Sue and said, you accessed the whale download. So this is just the beginning of the story. This is just the beginning. I was already amazed at this. I didn't know what it meant, but I was going to find out very soon. And so I finished the song, and I mixed and mastered it, and it was Christmas. It was Christmas Eve, and I was listening to the song, and it was after listening to it for the 6th time, I heard a translation.
Okay.
I heard a translation. It just came to me. It was like an instant download. And it was saying, I was saying in that melody, I was saying, do you hear me? And I couldn't believe it. I stood up and I cried out. I said, oh my God, I'm saying, do you hear me, in a tonal language? And then I just put my head down on my desk and I cried for 20 minutes because I knew without a doubt what I heard. And I was actually speaking a tonal language in the melody. And I contact Sue and I said, oh my God, I'm saying something. There's a translation to this tonal language. I'm saying, do you hear me? Sue responds back and she says, I'm hearing cheering coming from the mountain. She said, you're correct. You're right. She said, Thera is, the message is being sent back to Thera. Oh, shoot. The message is being sent back to Thera at the aquatic stations back in New Zealand to let them know that everybody's going to know. So that was a massive breakthrough for me. That was probably the most incredible moment of my life besides the birth of my first son. To have a paradigm shift like that. And I'm not making this up. I know a lot of people will ridicule me and I'll get mocked for this for years. And people will think it's lies. But I know what's true. And I snapshotted all the conversations from Sue and I, what the reaction was from the mountain, date stamped it. It's all, I documented all so that it's there to, as evidence of what happened.
Those who are empathic and psychic, like, me and Linda and probably everybody watching the podcast, we can tune into those things and we can feel those things with you. I mean, that was really moving when you said that, because the whales, when you and I talked on one-on-one, we talked about how those whales are like, fifth dimensional beings in these physical bodies and their mission on the planet. And how that's just like the P'nti as well. Like the P'nti are, quantum beings, however you want to call it, but they have physical bodies. They're humans from another planet, but they have this expanded intelligence and they're able to communicate with this other species that has this expanded intelligence. For a human who they've been trying so hard to connect with us and be like, be part of the family, be part of the cosmic family. And you got the message. Do you hear us? Do you hear us? We're calling you. Do you hear us? And you were able to hear it and translate it and get it back. And it's like, oh, connection, celebration, connection. It's such a moment for everybody. And it's just an honor to be able to share it with you. And I honor you for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There was that song that was very powerful. And then the other song was the whale song that I wrote. That's the last song on my last CD, and that was channeled. That was actually channeled from a great bard, and that was probably the most emotional song I've ever recorded. And I have a very hard time listening to it because I know how much it physically took out of me to sing her song, to sing what she was communicating to me.
Who was it that you were channeling?
Some great whale.
A great whale. Okay.
Yeah.
You're channeling her song.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And people can hear your music. They can hear this. Can they hear this on Pyramids on Mars, your YouTube channel, or where can they go to hear this?
Go to the website, pyramidsonmars.com. There will be a link to Bandcamp, and go to the Edge of the Black CD, and you can listen to the song right there. So just go to pyramidsonmars.com, click Bandcamp, and it'll take you there.
Perfect.
You can hear.
Miss Linda, did you have a question?
I'm typing.
Okay, you're
I'm trying to
typing.
type those in there. I was going to ask what it was. My question was, Kevin, have you had the chance to actually physically go near whales since then?
Ooh, good question.
No, physically, no. But I do have plans to visit the whales astrally.
Nice.
That is a whole other topic on its own.
Yeah.
May or may not get to today. But through astral travel, my intentions are to telepathically merge with a pod of whales.
Wow, that's going to be intense. We'll have you back on after for that one. I wanted to ask you, speaking of telepathy, while I'm thinking about it, have you done the primer, the telepathy primer, the 100-day challenge? You've done it, okay? Because I remember you talking. That's something that we're going to talk about this Sunday. Everyone come back for our party on Sunday, because we're going to really talk about the primer and the perks and benefits of using it and why it's important. Why would you want to do that? But Kevin was saying on this other interview that it's not just it doesn't just open you on a telepathic level. It opens you on a much wider level beyond telepathy. Do you want to speak to that, Kevin, in terms of what the primer did for you?
I had a telepathic experience right after I had done the primer. So I finished reading the primer and did the protocols at the end of it, focusing on my amygdala, my pineal gland, and sending out a telepathic hello, to star nations who may be listening. And then I went to bed, and then I woke up around 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I'm trying to get back to sleep. I closed my eyes, and this always happens when you get into that alpha theta state, just before you're about to fall asleep, but your brain waves have slowed down, and you're about to go to sleep. And my eyes were closed, and I could see, like, it looked like the green, the Matrix movie with all the green coat coming down. That's kind of what was going on in front of me with my eyes closed. And then all of a sudden, 2 feet from my face, a three-dimensional P'nti face formed and was looking at me.
And this is why your eyes are closed. You see it through in your third eye.
I saw it with my eyes. Like if you close your eyes and you could see, you're actually looking and seeing somebody 2 feet from you. Okay.
Yeah, with your third eye.
I guess so, yeah. Because he just appeared there with my eyes closed. And I went, whoa! And I literally flipped backwards and landed on the other side of my bed. I was totally freaked out.
Yeah.
And so I messaged Sue the next day and I said, what was that? And she said, it was a P'nti, and it was kind of the equivalent of coming up to your face and going, can you hear me?
So was it like a trainee who was learning how to communicate with you? Was that what it was?
I don't know what it was, but Sue said next time they do that, they said, can you just turn the volume down just a bit?
Oh, so when you sent out your message, you're saying when you sent out your message, it was like, can you hear me? Like,
oh, no, it was them. It was them responding back to me that they were like right in my face, to see, can you hear me? Basically showing up right in my face.
Oh,
so
okay.
Yeah.
That is fascinating. So that was their way of saying, yes, we heard you, but you were so receptive and clean that they had amped themselves a little too loudly. They didn't need to be up that loud for you to hear them.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But when we're talking about telepathy, it's so much more than just a voice. It's emotions. It's 4-dimensional. It's beyond that. And I really got that sense when they visited me at the Ozark UFO conference in Arkansas. I knew the P'nti were talking about, they were going to be there, and they actually visited me at my motel room. And it was, I didn't remember the experience at the time. It would be about 2 weeks after the experience, after I came home, that I had started to have memory recalls. And then I had a recall of what actually took place.
Oh.
And should I go into detail with that?
Yeah, you've already opened the can of worms, so you better at least point to a couple of worms and tell us about them. Okay.
So I had this memory all of a sudden of, because my friend, she slept in the bedroom on the bed, and we had 2 rooms, and there was a party room that was attached to our room. And
who else was there?
A friend of mine. She was a friend.
Okay.
So, yeah. And she was sleeping in the bed, and I was sleeping on the couch. And there's a love seat and that, and I just had this memory of Radar jumping up and down on the end of the couch, saying, wake up, party time, party time." And I'm like, what the heck? Why am I having this memory? And so I private messaged, the P'nti, and then Radar comes on and he says, "Yeah, we're placing bets to see when you get your memories back." He says, "Yeah, we partied, we laughed, and you snorted tea out your nose. When do you want to do it again?"
Oh my goodness.
And it was when he said, "You snorted tea out your nose," all of a sudden the memories flashed like a movie. And it was like it played back in my head exactly everything that took place. And this is what happened. So they threw a tea party for me back at our room. A tea party. So I'm sitting there on the couch on the left-hand side. Judy's sitting on my right-hand side. The love seat in front of me. Radar is sitting right there in front of me. Tilcom is on his side, and we're talking, and we're having conversation, and we're drinking tea. And I remember this hug of light that I was surrounded in. I felt their emotions. My whole chest was just filled with love. Like, if you picture the best way to picture it is picture the movie E.T. the Extraterrestrial, when his heart's glowing like that. That's exactly what I felt like. This love, of this unconditional love, of friendship, of unity, of being with your best friends, and pure joy and pure, the best. It's the most incredible emotions all mixed into one, and we're all sharing this emotion together. Like, we're so happy to be here with you. And it was like Radar was telling a story about an incident that took place in the hangar bay, where he was trying to hot rod his skipper ship Delta Dawn, and something went wrong. And so he's running around the hangar bay, running around circles saying, "Help, help, help." And then while he's saying the story, a voice interrupted him, a really deep voice, and it said, "Brinkman."
You said what?
Brinkman.
Brinkman.
Like ship, Brinkman. Now, that was a code word because Grayson, one of the P'nti, Grayson was teasing Radar a few weeks before, talking about Radar's brinkmanship. Okay, basically operating on the levels of dangerousness.
Oh,
Is art of brinkmanship. And so I kind of shortened it down to saying you should name a ship just the Brinkman. When you name one of your ships the Brinkman, get it, Brinkman ship. And Grayson thought it was hilarious, and he actually did that. He named one of his ships the Brinkman. But we named Radar, the nickname for Radar was Brinkman now. But I also knew that Grayson had a really deep voice, because Jason had already said about how deep Grayson's voice was. So when this voice interrupted Radar, it said Brinkman. Now you have to remember, telepathy is in your head. It's not, when we speak, we can actually tell from where the sound's coming from. We can use our ears to stereo project. With telepathy, it's not like that. It's in your head. So, and I couldn't see Grayson because he wasn't there. He was actually standing behind me, behind the wall. And I went to turn, and I saw him. He looked at me to see if I recognized him, and I immediately did. And I was in such surprise. I had a mouthful of tea in my mouth. I went like that and snorted tea all over Radar. All over Radar.
All over Radar.
I snorted tea out my nose all over Radar. And they started laughing. I mean, Judy, she was in shock. Radar was just like, I was laughing so hard. Radar was laughing so hard, he was literally snorting himself off the couch, like that. He was sliding off the couch. He was literally sliding off the couch as he's going like this. And I'm laughing so hard. And then we finally come to, And that's the thing that the P'nti love. They love having a laugh, that you laugh so hard that your sides hurt. You know, that for them is pure joy. And that's what I was experiencing. I was laughing so hard my sides were hurting. And then he looks at me and he says, "You know what? I've never seen one of you do that before. That's so cool."
And he's
And
saying,
that's Austin.
and he's saying that telepathically, right? Because they can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because their voice is not developed. I was going to ask you a question. Okay, why did you forget? What was the mechanism that made you forget? Or is that just the mind's way of being like, that's another world, I've got to shut down, I can't quite comprehend that, it's going to have to come back later? What was the veil? Why did the veil drop?
I think they wanted me to remember that, to know that it was real, because I've had so many visitations from the P'nti and I don't remember any of them. I've been picked up by the P'nti so many times. I collect the samples in my bed. Like at first it was like red dust. I was finding red New Mexico dust on my pillowcases, in my bed sheet, and I'm like, what the heck's going on here? And
you're in Canada.
I'm in Canada. We don't have red dust. We have black soil. And then sometimes I would wake up in the morning and I'd have sand in my bed. So, and every time this would happen, I would collect the samples and label them the date of, the samples that were in my bed. Sometimes I have found other anomalies in my bed, like fine black obsidian sand, very, very hard shards of obsidian in my bed.
Wow.
Why? I've also found some other things which are more organic that I cannot describe, something that almost feels like a scab or a tooth, and it looks like a tooth, but it's not. So it's other stuff that I cannot describe. I don't know what it is. So I've collected over 48 samples in my bed.
Wow.
From visitations from the P'nti.
So now I want to know why you don't remember. Is that something they're doing, or is it something that your mind is doing? They have to follow the treaty. Sorry,
they have to follow the treaty.
You're breaking up there. Say that again. You broke up.
Okay, sorry. They have to follow the desert treaty that they agreed upon.
Oh, and that is, you can't, as people, the humans can't, Earth humans can't have the memories. That's part of the treaty.
Oh, it's not that they can't have the memories. It's that the memories are tucked away where your dreams are. So you still have the memory, but they're suppressed. They can be brought back up through hypnosis.
Okay.
So, yeah, but it's protocol that they have to follow.
A protocol they have to follow.
There's probably a lot of other reasons too, for probably safety and security reasons.
Yeah.
Because other star nations may want to probe and get information out of me. Who knows why? Who knows?
If they're, how you get to where they're at is, the private information, then they don't want that. They don't want strangers knocking on their door, being like, "We know you live here." Hey, Miss Linda, I know I saw our friend the manatee pop up.
Yes. So I just wanted to say there's lots of confirmation about their joy and sense of humor. And I just wanted to pick out a couple of them. Wendy says, I don't recall Grayson, but I think last I remember they had to go somewhere. So I believe new members have returned. Is this correct, Kevin? Do you know anything about new members arriving?
There's always new members arriving.
Yeah.
There has been for the last couple of years, but a lot more in the last year. They've had tons of new trainees arriving, and they've been training lots of them. And so, the older crew like Radar and Grayson and P'nti and all them have a lot of trainees that they're training basically. So there's a lot more coming through and a lot more of them visiting.
And Wendy said, and chocolate cake, they said they are coming to me for tea and my famous chocolate cake. Kevin may remember.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
And that they're agreeing that they have to follow the protocol of the agreement. And a lot of them said make sense.
Okay,
So I'm
cool.
thanking you.
Well, that brings up another little question, actually, because I was talking to you about what the P'nti eat. And in my mind, like we have these stories about how Star Nations, what they do and how they do and why they do, which is why these conversations are so wonderful, because it actually puts it into people's firsthand experiences. Because from what I've learned from you, Kevin, is that the P'nti are pescatarian. So they're not vegetarian, they're not vegans. They actually enjoy pizza with like sardines. And
Yes.
I'm like, wouldn't their bodies freak out at like all the crap that isn't human food? Like it's like we were saying at the beginning of the conversation, it's so cram packed with like all the stuff that's not good for you. How do they digest our food? What's their
That's going to
relationship?
be one of the great 7 mysteries of the world, honestly.
Okay. So you're not sure?
No, tarts. They eat ice cream. They eat, they love Hershey's Kisses. They eat all kinds of stuff and stuff that I wouldn't even eat.
Right.
It's like Pop-Tarts, but they like junk food.
I wonder.
It's
Yeah.
funny.
It's something that it's a good question to ask Sue this Sunday when we have our P'nti party. I can ask Sue and maybe we can have them directly respond. I see the manatee is back in view.
Back again. So we have another question from somebody new. Dana asked, how many P'nti are there? Do you know now?
Like here on the planet, or
I think here.
because they have stations. There's different P'nti stationed throughout. There's way more than the Sandia. You go, Kevin. You know more than I do, obviously.
I think from what I remember at the Sandia Mountain Complex, the last number I had gotten, that was maybe a year and a half ago, was around 125 P'nti. But they're not the only Star Nation at the base. It's an information station. There's three main information stations on the planet, and theirs is one of 3. So there are other designaries who come to the Sandia Mountain. But I know at that time there was at least 123 P'nti. There's probably a lot more now. So,
okay.
I have clarification. She wanted to know on their planet.
Oh,
planet. Oh, I don't know. I have no idea. But I do know for a fact that they are very careful in regards to their balance of population control, in the sense of not to overpopulate the planet, that the planet cannot sustain that many people. They're very conscious when we talk about they look for right-mindedness. It's the same teachings as Christianity. To do unto others as you would like them to do unto you. Theirs is actually even more expanded than that. They look in regards to, what is in the benefit for the all, not just for this generation, but for 7 generations ahead. So they, humans are so busy thinking about themselves, and not thinking about how their actions hurt other people, or thinking about, oh, who cares if we throw all this garbage in the ocean? It doesn't matter. Let's keep building up our, who cares about the plastic? Who cares about, burning the forest? Who cares? The world will take care of itself. Well, no, it doesn't work that way. And Gia is, she's getting ready to reset herself, basically. And it's,
who is?
Gia.
Gaia. Oh, yeah. Okay, Gaia. Okay.
Gaia is in the process of resetting herself.
Yes.
And nothing that we can do about it. So,
well, I think we're here to facilitate it. And I think that's what that's what this whole impetus of this, chatting with you and then our party on Sunday is to really get people into that vibration of like, hey, let's work with the P'nti, let's work with each other, let's work with the whales, let's work with Gaia in this reset, as opposed to being like, oh no, something's going to happen and what are we going to do? Tune into it, become part of it, align yourself to the change, align yourself to the transformation. Don't resist it, lean into it, surrender into it, so you can be a conduit for the upgrade as opposed to an impediment. Because if you're going to be an impediment, you're going to be the one that hurts from it, because it's going to happen regardless. So that's really one of our main reasons for having this party on Sunday, is so that we can have a greater, stronger community, and we can support each other, and we can become conduits collectively in a harmonized way for the change, for ourselves, for the planet, for the universe, because it's all connected. Then
I just want to clarify one more thing.
Yeah.
The planet is not resetting itself just because of our behavior, our actions, and our treatment of the planet. That's only part of it. The other part of it is that the Earth is going through a violent part of the solar system, and we are just beginning to touch it right now. Our sun is changing. There's all kinds of space weather that's going on, space storms. We haven't even begun to go into the space storms, and they affect our planet. That's why we're having more increased earthquakes, and they're being dumbed down and reporting regarding how bad they actually really are. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be happening very near future, and this has been predicted for thousands of years by many different cultures of the Earth, and the star nations know all about it too. So it just is. There's nothing you can do about it. It's supposed to happen.
It's a natural evolution, and it's part of the sun cycle, and it's happened before. That's why people have gone underground before. Star nations have taken people off the planet before. It's, like it is our egocentricity that says, oh, this can't happen because it would interrupt my career, so that can't happen. It can't be real. Like, well, you're here for something bigger than what you maybe have believed before. So surrender and expand. It could be even better, because you might become a different type of being who's able to do much more than what you thought your career in the normal mainstream market would look like. We're evolving as a species. Miss Linda, you have a question?
I think somebody already answered it.
Oh, great.
Painting behind you, the drawing behind you, Kevin.
Oh,
is that one Sue did, or is that one you did?
Oh, no, that's Sue. This is actually a Sue Walker original.
Ooh, that reminds me, this is so good. We are going to do a giveaway of a Sue Walker original art piece on Sunday, right? We haven't figured out how we're going to do the giveaway, but we're going to do a giveaway.
Oh my gosh.
Right? So show up, because being part of the live stream will be at least one of the conditions of being part of the giveaway, right?
Yeah.
Linda's in on that.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. And are there protocols for us for the party?
Are there protocols for us for the party?
For us. Yeah.
Showing up.
I have suggestions when we show up.
Have a good time. Wear festive, something festive and fun. It's okay to have a glass of wine or two. What other protocols are you thinking about, Miss Linda?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's my first party, I want to show up. I want to show up right,
What was that, Mr. Kevin?
I said, wear your P'nti t-shirts.
If you have one, wear one. Otherwise, if you got some wraparound black glasses for ET eyes, there's Miss Linda.
I have She's got in the dark.
Cool.
Mardi Gras UFO beads.
So we will be posting more details about that in the next couple of days.
And where do they follow us to find that information out?
Well, you can go to the P'nti Facebook page. If you go to Facebook and type in P'nti, and that's P with a little dash, NTI. It's actually, well, I'll tell you, since we are online, I mean, I can do everything. I can do anything good. It's called, because it might be called Sandia. It's the Sandia Mountain P'nti Crew. It's a little long, but it's the Sandia Mountain P'nti Crew. That is on the Facebooks, the Book of Faces, as I like to call it. And then Twitter, that is going to be, that's called Sendia Wisdom, Sendia Wisdom. So that's where you're going to find those updates. So it's good to go there. And then I just want to squeeze one more question or one more story out of Kevin, because we've been going on for over an hour now, and I know that people need to eat and go back to their lives. But I'm wondering, Kevin, would you tell us about teaching Radar how to play guitar? The P'nti only have 4 digits. And this is something that Sue told me. She was like, ask Kevin about this. So I want to make sure I do. You taught Radar how to play the guitar with 4 digits. Go. How did that happen?
It took some thinking, some creative thinking, because I knew that he only had 4 fingers. And so I didn't have a thumb to be able to wrap around the back of the neck, which is very critical, you know, to be able to put pressure on the strings when you're playing the guitar, you know, on the neck. And I was thinking, okay, how can he play guitar with only 4 long fingers and no thumb? And I gave it some thought and realized that my guitar, my Les Paul guitar is D-tuned, which means you take the low E and you tune it down to D. So it's actually the first 3 strings is an open chord. It's an open chord, so you can just use 1 finger and you can play a bar chord and play play a note, and then it's easier to build from that chord and add more fingers to to create a more complex chord. But that solved the problem in regards to being able to play chords in the guitar with ease, with just having to use 1 finger and then learning from the other fingers. But then how do you get pressure on the neck of the guitar if you don't have a thumb? And so I tied my thumb behind my hand and tried to figure out, how can I do this? And I realized, oh, if I use my elbow of my picking hand as a fulcrum, I can press my elbow against the guitar this way, which then holds the neck in place, so I can push pressure on with my fingers, and I don't even need a thumb. Huh. So that was the solution. And so then I walked Radar. I just talked to him telepathically and showed him the pictures and did it demonstration. This is how you do this. This is how you can do this. Do this, this, and this, and you'll be able to play the guitar without a thumb. And I didn't even know if he was listening to me, but he was. And he got the lesson. He understood it. So I felt so good. I felt like I helped him break through, in a new technique to play guitar without a thumb.
That's marvelous. It's such a template for the relationships we can have with the Star Nations. If we just calm down, humble ourselves, and operate out of our hearts, anything's possible.
They are very loving beings.
Yes.
They're loving, they're playful. I've been visited by many different Star Nation people over the last couple of years. But they've come to me sometimes when I've been having a hard time, when it's been a rough time, and they'll put their hands on my shoulder and I'll feel a hand on my shoulder resting. They've done that, I had a visitation. I think it was P'nti this week, and they came and just put their arms around my neck, and she just rested her head against my head, and I started to cry, and I could feel her starting to feel my sadness. She was just there to hold me and say, I'm here for you, I feel bad for you. I know you're hurting right now. They care. They do. They're as human as we are. They're as human as we are.
Yeah.
So important things.
Thank you. That is a perfect place to end our conversation today. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask, Miss Linda?
I just want to thank everybody that's joined us. We've been having an awesome time typing and talking in the background, having our own party as you guys talk. Hearing fantastic interview. You guys are great on chat. Woo, woo.
Thank you, everyone.
And let's see. Wait, we've got some catch up to do. One quick. I want to make sure. Shane said he was going to come with a tie and only a tie, which we said just don't stand up.
Just don't say that thing. That's our friend Psychic Shane, who's going to be with in our party with us.
Yeah, and I said that Radar would probably enjoy his fart machine. Also, don't forget to invite your friends. I mentioned that. Please, everyone, invite your friends. It's a big party. More the merrier. And Radar on guitar. Now I have to hear what on earth he's playing. Caterwauling 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Windy. Okay. And then I absolutely love this live. I'm so grateful that you guys did this. Yay. I am too.
Thank you.
So I have to admit, okay, we meaning me was so apprehensive. I'm so grateful that you guys hung with us, and this is so much fun. We need to do this definitely more often.
Yes.
And Kevin, Wendy says she believes that they mended her left arm, which is awesome. Awesome. And so glad to be here. Amazing. Yes, the party within the party. Party.
That's awesome.
We're starting early, man.
Yeah, I want to hear when Radar drops his CD. I don't know if they drop CDs anymore these days. Dating myself there, but yeah, we should have his soundtrack playing while we have the party.
Can you imagine too? We need to introduce them to Greg with his glass harmonica.
Oh yeah, that's a mutual friend of ours. Ooh. Yeah, it was especially with the whale songs. Could you imagine doing whale songs with the glass harmonica?
We have a friend. I'll drop see if I can find something that I can drop of his somewhere at some point and have him play for us, because it's amazing.
Yeah, maybe we could feature.
They would love that.
Maybe we could feature his music at some point.
Yeah. All
right. Well, let's wrap it up. Is there anything else that you want to say to your friends and your community here, Kevin?
I just want to say, everybody, thank you for listening. I really appreciate you coming out and hanging out with us, and hearing what I had to say and what my experiences have been like. I really appreciate it.
Awesome. All right. Okay, Miss Linda. What's that?
Thank you, everybody. I'm just loving this. So I will
do too. It's so much fun. Live is awesome. It's definitely going to be a thing. All right. Thank you, everyone. And Ms. Linda, it's going to be on you. You have the control. You have the power to end the power. Otherwise, they're going to just hear us chattering.
Yeah, okay. So this is my first time, guys. So you got to bear with me. Am I ending the live first?
You can try that. We're going to find out.
Oh, no, I don't know.
We're all experiencing it together for the first time. Just start pushing buttons. Do a Radar. Run around. Help! Help!
Yeah. You're gonna like things you probably shouldn't see. Okay, I'm going to stop. I'm going to, what am I going to do? Stop the live stream. Thank you, everybody.